What's up, guys? It's meteorologist Andrea Myers here to bring you guys live coverage of a storm that has just headed through Madison, Wisconsin, making its way into Milwaukee right now. Confirmed golf balls at the NWS office with this storm right over the radar, and it's continuing to shift off to the east. Right here behind me is Milwaukee, and it is heading due east towards the city here. There's our confirmed golf ball report there, and like I said, it's continuing to track off to the east. Wind speed on this is 60 miles per hour. It is wind-driven hail. We do have videos of that. Up to golf ball-sized hail so far. We had up to 2 inches in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin earlier, and again, this storm is ramping up as we see the weather starting to pick up tonight as we move forward. So, looking into our storm here, here's the storm track that John got going for us here. 4:07 p.m. expected to hit Bethsaida, 4:13 Waukesha, 4:35 Milwaukee. So in about 35 minutes here, this storm is going to be moving into the main part of the metro. So if you guys are watching this from Wisconsin, stay tuned to this because, again, wind-driven hail is confirmed from video evidence on the storm. So, definitely getting ramped up here. Here it is over Ottawa, and you can see that little hail core. Now, we are right on top of the radar, so it doesn't look as typically impressive as we're used to seeing. But where these reflectivities start to pick up, that's where we have our hail moving right now. So if you guys, there's our CCs popping up. Anywhere where these yellows and greens are, that's where our hail is going to be. And then where we start to see those greens and blues picking up, that's where we're starting to get those ping pong to golf ball sized stones. So if you guys are along County Road D, and let's see, that's Moraine Hills Drive there. That's where the intersection of the hail is falling currently at 4:03 p.m. and then we're going to wait on our next update as this continues off to the east. So there's our, rotation. We had quite an updraft, and it looks like we've got half of an update, so we're waiting on the other half. But we've got quite an updraft on this storm. You can see by the structure of it, and it'll fix itself in a second. But you can see by the structure of the storm, it's got a nice bow on it. So again, that wind driving behind it. The marker, again, right now is showing 3.55 inches for the maximum hail size. That's not what's actually falling, but that just shows you've got a really intense, vigorous updraft on this storm. And so with that, we have that potential, and there's that frowny face, we got that potential for hail to be large with this storm as it's wind driven behind it, and then all of that is causing lift up at the front where that hail is falling. So now over Genesee is where that hail core has shifted off to, and it's been tossing stones up to the north as well. So, we got our main core here where those pinks are, and then you can see those CCs shooting all the way up towards Wales, where we're continuing to see a pretty wide swath of severe hail with this storm. So there it all is circled there. That's where we're seeing severe hail, anywhere from the southern part of this storm to just south of Genesee, up north towards, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, you can throw it in the comments if you have a phonetic pronunciation, but just north of Summit there, that's where our severe hail is. So again, pretty wide swath on this, but we do have some larger stones in the ping pong to golf ball sized range that are continuing off to the east, now just east of the National Weather Service office where we last had that reported. So again, there's the structure on that storm, that bow shape, and again, we know, you guys, if you're new to us, some of us know, some of us don't, but when they get those bow shapes, that's when you got wind driving that storm along with it. So again, there's that storm track on it moving eastward at 46 miles an hour, is that right, John? 46? So it should be in Milwaukee by 4:28 p.m. Again, it is booking it off to the east. So we're going to see that continue through Waukesha, through Brookfield, and then eventually into the metro area with severe hail and some gusty winds as well. Now we do have quite a busy situation picking up here. We've talked about wind in our forecast earlier here, but if in case you missed it, these storms are developing, and as they move into the Great Lakes region, they're expected to kind of cluster together and form more of a wind threat, and we're already seeing that wind threat come into fruition here. I mean, if we can query maybe some values on that, you can see that bow shape really well in our velocities, and then where those pinks are, that's where we start to see a uptick in our wind speeds. So right now, showing 45s on velocity, but again, we have videos of it doing a little bit higher than that. So warned for 60s as it tracks off to the east just south of Waukesha now. So again, some pretty gusty winds and some large hail. There you go, through Dane County, 1 to 2 inch hail there. Where in Dane County, it's been tracking for quite a long time, and it does have a history of doing that 1 to 2 inch hail. So that's good to have that confirmed in the comments there. How long was it in Madison? This storm is moving fast, so it was only in Madison for a short period of time. But in that period of time, it was wind-driven hail. We can actually go. Can we get the storm reports on that? Can we go that far back so we can kind of look at it?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll it back.
Sweet. Okay. Yeah, I mean, here's all the reports that have come off of it since, but now we can start to see what's going on in Madison. We're getting those wind reports through the city, and there are all of our severe hail reports with this storm as it tracked out that way. We can only go so far, but you can see through Maple Bluff, through just north of Madison, and then up in Sun Prairie. That's where we had some severe hail falling. The most intense so far looks like it was near the Sun Prairie area, where we have quite a few reports of around golf ball to 2 inch stones coming out. We can query a couple of those and just talk about what happened there.
I can roll back a little further. There we go.
Yeah.
Back an hour. Hang on.
But again, you can see quite a different shape on it. Well, you could.
Sorry,
as it passed,
I'm
no, you're good. As it passed through Madison, you can see quite a different shape on that storm, starting to bow this way, where we had more of a supercell structure, and then as it tracked east, started to push outwards as those winds picked up. And now we're seeing a wind-driven hail threat. So there it goes, out with that bowing structure out to the east. And we're about to get a little more current here, moving towards Waukesha. Again, with that bowing structure, starting to see, with that wind picking up, starting to see hail sizes potentially dropping off a little bit here. Waiting on some more reports to come in.
I got a spotter. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
$50 report from Spotter Network in North Prairie.
Okay. Is your mic on?
Yeah, my mic's on.
Okay.
It's just south of what's the name of town? The Genesee.
Okay.
Over.
Yeah.
It was like.
You said $50?
Yeah, it was like over here.
Okay. I mean, that checks out based on our CCs. Is anything coming to Ohio? Depending on where in Ohio you're at, yes. This system is expected to track through northeastern Ohio, potentially through the Cleveland area. So stay tuned. That's going to be, unfortunately, after dark, likely. So you definitely want to stay tuned to your weather if you guys are in Michigan or Ohio tonight. So there's one of the $50 reports, and John just said, we got another one just south of Genesee there. So again, producing $50, but as we start to see the shape of this storm change, we're going to start to potentially see our hail sizes drop off, but then our damaging wind potential pick up. So if you live in Cleveland, yeah, this is forecast to move towards you into the late evening and overnight hours. So for now, here's where we have quite a large area here of severe hail potential through Genesee, through Wales, moving into Waukesha. With that, looking like quarters to $50 are going to be most predominant right now. Could still be getting some ping pong to golf ball size stones mixing in there. And again, yes, tracking due east now into New Berlin and through the Brookfield area, and it's going to move right over you guys in Waukesha. So again, stay tuned. This is actively moving into your area. So if you can get in and stay away from windows, because again, this is wind-driven hail. So we want to be wary of that as this continues off to the east along the it looks like the I-18 corridor. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I-18 corridor there with that severe hail.
Yeah, Highway 18.
Yeah, Highway 18. Okay, so there's your storm there. And if we want to kind of like zoom all the way out, we can talk a little bit about what's happening here overall. There was a storm initially up to, and leave your cars out. There was a storm, this one up along 39 was previously severe warned, is no longer. But as these track off to the east, you can start to see this clustering storm mode beginning to happen. We had initial supercells once we were west of Madison, Wisconsin, and we had a few of those. There you go, right back here and a couple up here. But as it's tracking eastward, it's starting to organize as more of a cluster of storms, going to get worse before it gets better there. And then we're likely to see those start to band up as they move into Michigan, over the Great Lakes, and into the Grand Rapids area, where we could get quite a wind threat, as well as more of the same here for hail in the quarter to $50 size range. So
it looks like we have a warning for Milwaukee.
Yeah, I was going to say. So do we want to query that and see what we got here? for Milwaukee. So they're still warning it for golf ball sized hailstones and 60-mile-per-hour winds. Checks out here as we just saw that. Looking like this is going to be lasting until 4:45 here. So again, this storm has been booking it. It is moving quickly off to the east. So if you guys are in Franklin, Milwaukee, Wauwatosa, or West Allis, that's where we could be seeing these storms move. Again, it's a dense population center that's been circled. There are over 1 million people impacted by this storm. Again, fortunately for them, looks like hail sizes are starting to drop off a little bit, but if it can ramp up back again, we could be getting potential wind-driven golf balls right now. So it's definitely something to take seriously as this moves into the Milwaukee area, right in between Milwaukee and Oak Creek there.
It should be noted, too, that it's moving east at 50 miles an hour.
Yeah,
so it's
I mean,
still accelerating. It
is cranking. It's moving off very quickly, and again, that's what's going to be expected for these storms tonight. So, tracking or kind of zooming on into our storm here, let's get some roads and talk a little bit about who's in the storm right now. So, if you guys are in Waukesha, things are starting to pick up here. Probably getting some gusty winds right now. We can see that on our velocity or our CCs. Well,
sorry,
no, you're good.
One.
Yeah, starting to get some gusty winds, and we're starting to see those velocities pick up into those bright pinks. That's where we get those stronger winds. So there you go, 63-mile-an-hour winds. So severe winds starting to move into the Waukesha area with this bow tracking through. With that is likely to be some severe hail as well. So again, you could be getting a pretty loud thunderstorm hitting any structures moving through Waukesha, anywhere along or between Waukesha and I guess 43 there. That's the best I can do. But this should be moving into New Berlin now, 419, 426 through Franklin, and 434 through Oak Creek. So might take a dive just south of Milwaukee. But again, this has been tossing hail up to the north, so we definitely still want to stay tuned and watch what it ends up doing. So as this tracks through the area, okay, there it goes. You can see, I mean, we can talk a little bit about the intensification of it if you are wanting to, but I mean, we could see the golf ball-sized hailstorm or stones being reported. This is the NWS office here, and CC's looking a little bit angrier as we move in. You can see that really bright area of low CCs, and with that, is our large hail. As it tracks east, starting to taper off a little bit, and we're starting to see those scattered CCs where we're getting those quarters to half dollars. Looks like we just got a wind report in. I kind of want to see what that is over Ottawa.
Dang.
Yeah, trees and wires down across much of western Waukesha County. Checks out as we are getting severe winds with this storm. Again, you can see a pretty nasty bow structure on this. Definitely, driving through with those winds. And the storm is moving east at, what'd you say, John, 50 miles an hour?
Yeah, 50.
Yeah, so it's moving fast. You got the storm motion combined with the winds behind it, and it's producing, severe winds there. So that's starting to become the predominant threat. And again, wind should not be underestimated as it moves through the area. It's definitely a force to be reckoned with. Over 60-mile-an-hour winds moving through across the 41 and 45 corridor here in the next few minutes. And again, that bow is just painfully apparent on radar here at 4:15 Central Time. What was that, John?
It looks really good right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna clear a little bit.
Yeah. So it's definitely ramping up in terms of wind here as that tracks off to the east, and yeah. So definitely a nasty little storm heading into the Milwaukee Oak Grove area. Now, if you're in New Berlin or Muskego, that's when your severe winds are starting to pick up, probably seeing some trees starting to bend quite a bit as this storm rips through. And again, probably getting some possible hail. Tornado right now, not looking super likely because we don't have a couplet. What we need is that area of the greens and the reds. We need a really tiny area of greens and reds meeting together to cause that rotation. This isn't a super rotational storm right now. It's just tracking directly east. So fortunately for that, not looking at much of a tornado threat on the leading edge of this right now. Where those arrows are, that's the direction of your wind coming. So, I mean, you can see this storm tracking off, but again, straight line winds with this. But again, straight line winds are not something to be underestimated with this storm. Looks like that's probably your $50 report, I would imagine, the one you were just talking about.
Ooh, golf ball.
Golf balls, nice.
Big Bend.
Okay, report is from Vernon. So storm's still producing severe hail. Warned for golf balls, producing golf balls, and damaging winds now as it's tracking east. So again, we've got wind-driven hail with this storm, a couple of hazards as it tracks now towards Greenfield and Franklin, and we start to see this continue to develop. So can we roll it back and take a look at where that report came in?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right now.
Okay, yeah.
I'm rolling it back. And
Okay.
I'll just switch to correlation.
Yeah, that's fine. So there it is before the storm's moving through. We got all that dust out in front of it, and that's why there's lowering there. Then it tracks through a little bit. Okay, oh, you can see it just for a second there. If we go back one frame. Oh, wait. Where'd it go? There's a frame right in there where it starts to drop right there. A little bit of...
it's like up in here.
Yeah. You see those greens and yellows? That's where we start to get it's probably pretty scattered, but ping pong to golf ball size stones where that's being circled right now. So again, it's going to be mostly quarters to half dollars based on that, but there are definitely some...
Well, actually, we look at it right there.
Wait, what?
Like right where you're standing.
Oh, yeah,
I
sure.
just circled it.
Yeah. So it's going to be mostly quarters to half dollars among most of this storm. But again, where you saw that circled just a second ago and then tracking off to the east, likely getting some ping pong and golf ball sized stones mixing in there with those green and yellow CCs. So this is tracking along 43 here now into Greenfield. And again, there is wind behind this. So if you're in Greenfield now, it's expected that you're likely going to get some wind driven hail in the next couple of minutes here with this storm as it tracks through. So definitely be on the lookout for that. If you guys can get inside, try to get inside. When thunder roars, go indoors. That's what we like to say. And this storm is definitely a powerful one heading into the Milwaukee area and the Milwaukee suburbs. So folks in Greenfield definitely want to be on the lookout for this storm starting to shift into your area. For New Berlin and Muskego, you guys are in the thick of it right now with that severe hail as well as with some gusty winds with this storm. And then again, Milwaukee here in the next 10, 15 minutes or so, this storm, again, it's cranking off to the east through into the Great Lakes region. So, we're gonna continue to see.
I found an MPing report of quarter-size hail on the west side of Waukesha. So I'm guesstimating that this is probably dropping hail with a ton of wind.
Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. There you have it from John himself, folks. Hail and a ton of wind with this storm through Waukesha. And it's continuing that trend now into, I forget what city this is, but between 45 and 41 here is probably going to hit the bulk of the system. And then, there's our wind report from the south end, still doing 60 miles an hour, so likely ramping up a little bit right along the peak of that bow, probably doing a little bit more than 60 right now. So again, the winds are just ripping with this storm. Reflectivities or velocities aren't gonna reflect that, but our reports are, fortunately. And so again, we're seeing those severe winds tracking through. And got those rotation indicators, again, just indicating a strong updraft on the storm. And that's just because this storm is slamming into the wind ahead of it, and that's forcing all the wind up, or all the air up, as it forces into it. So, if you've ever clapped your hands together in a pool and you've seen the water kind of rise up, that's what's happening here with this storm. And it's forcing all that air up into the atmosphere, creating hail. So we've got that wind causing that hail threat with this storm as it continues off to the east. Ooh, is that a 3D? Mm-hmm. So yeah, you can see the height of the storm through that. Can you tilt it on its side so you can kind of see how far up in the atmosphere it goes? We don't use this 3D tool that often.
You have to give me a second.
Waukesha, so it's Waukesha. Thank you. Yeah, we are from Oklahoma, so
look at that.
if you guys have pronunciations for us, let us know. We love that. So yeah, you can see the sheer height of this storm in the atmosphere. Again, there's a crazy updraft on this because of the speed this storm is moving as it tracks off to the east. And there you go. So now severe thunderstorm, or I guess that was the watch.
Trying to query the height.
I was going to say, that's a crazy amount of people, but yeah, that's a storm watch there. But yeah, you can see the sheer height of that storm. So plenty of room for hail to form. And it's going to go down over the radar because of the tilt of the radar. You can kind of see where it cuts off there, and that's just the radar beam moving up. So it's maintaining that height over the radar. And again, that gives it plenty of room for hail to form in that cold upper atmosphere, and dropping that over Waukesha, moving into the Milwaukee and Oak Creek area. So still waiting on that to shift along the, I guess this is 43, 41 corridor there. It's getting close. So again, you guys in Milwaukee probably starting to get some light rain, starting to hear some thunder, and maybe starting to see those winds pick up. Same with you guys.
Geez.
Oh man, yeah, same with you guys in Oak Creek. Probably starting to see some some nasty looking clouds off in the distance, and that is this storm starting to move into your area. So there you go. Like I said, along the peak of that storm, that's probably where we're getting the bulk of the winds, higher than 60. Radar is now reflecting 70. So we're getting some powerful winds on this storm tracking into the city here, as well as some severe hail. So the combo of those is unfortunately not always great. So if you guys are in Greenfield or Franklin, be on the lookout for that. Get indoors and stay away from your windows if you can. Turn on, keep watching us, but obviously you want to watch your local news too, because they can tell you specifically, the roads in the areas getting impacted, which helps. But yeah,
so a couple other reports.
What'd you say?
I'm carrying a couple reports.
Oh yeah. So quarters reported in Waukesha there. That was at 4:16, so just a few minutes ago. Let's see, do you think storm season or hail season is totally over for Oklahoma City? Right now it's heat season for Oklahoma City, unfortunately. We hate it as much as you do. But if the jet stream can dip low enough, then we could get some storms again. We talked about it a little at the end of the noon forecast, and we'll talk about it tomorrow too if you guys want to stay tuned for that.
Yeah, you want to try to pronounce this town?
Yeah, I'm all set. If you have pronunciations for that, drop them in the comments. But again, this was in Waukesha County. And again, golf ball sized hailstones tracking through.
Nomo, woke.
Yeah. Sorry guys, but tracking through the county there. So again, this storm is definitely, you can see how far north it's been spitting those hailstones, just based on the reports coming up all the way into Watertown. So again, it's forming hail on the southern part, but it's shooting it all the way up into probably Milwaukee area. And so again, wind-driven hail, and it's a large area of hail, large area of damaging winds. So we definitely want to note this storm as one to be reckoned with. Do not underestimate this storm. So there you go, 73-mile-an-hour winds. That is dark blue swath worthy for hail trace mapping. So we're starting to move into those really powerful winds. Oconomowoc. If that sounds good, give me a thumbs up. But Oconomowoc is what I'm going to go with. Thank you for that. So again, as that storm tracks off to the east, winds are picking up as it goes. So it's looking like pretty nasty winds tracking into anywhere from Milwaukee over down to Franklin. Okay, sweet, thank you. And again, as that goes, it's going to continue to produce pretty nasty winds, as well as some severe hail. So want to stay tuned for that. Now in St. Francis, rain's starting to pick up for you guys, and you guys are in the line of that nasty winds as well as that hail. And we're going to see that tracking into your area where John just outlined. That's the whole bowing structure of this storm. And again, it's from that wind that's pushing into it. You can kind of relay this in a lot of ways to what you do in a pool. When you take your hand and you swipe it through the water and you see that bowing structure ahead of your hand, that's what this is doing. The atmosphere behaves a lot like water in a lot of ways. So you got that wind pushing that air, and as it does, starting to see that bow structure kind of band out. And with that, we're probably getting winds upward of 70 miles an hour, and now moving into St. Francis as well as hail. So I'm going to continue to watch this for the next few minutes, tracking into Milwaukee. Rain starting to pick up in Milwaukee as well as St. Francis. And again, only a few minutes now until you start getting those nasty winds. If you guys are watching from Milwaukee and can safely, let us know what it sounds like out there. Try to stay indoors and away from windows, but it's definitely going to be a nasty one tracking over you guys. So now moving into Greendale and Franklin with those severe winds, and moving into, it looks like this is the 41 corridor. So if you guys are along that, You're starting to get some probably 70-mile-per-hour gusts here. So there they are. If you guys are in anywhere between, let's see, I gotta get a little closer here. If you guys are anywhere from Hales Corner, which is aptly named there, and then between that and like 24, probably just getting now, winds are probably starting to die down a little bit, fortunately. But you know, you just had the worst of it. And now moving just along South 51st Street, winds are going to pick up for you guys in the next minute or so here with this band of storms tracking through. Once you get to that heavy precipitation, that's where it's going to mix down all of that gusty winds. The rain kind of pushes that high wind down to the surface. And yeah, so okay, rain and lightning in downtown Milwaukee. Winds are probably expected to pick up here a little bit. Fortunately, it's just most of it is just to the south of you guys. So if it doesn't get super windy in Milwaukee, the bulk of the storm is headed to your south. You can see the storm track there. It was headed due east, and now it's starting to take a dive south down towards Franklin and into the Oak Grove area as well. So that's the area that's probably going to get hardest hit. But again, quite a bit of population along the coast here. So, you know, a lot of people are going to get affected by this damaging wind as it continues to track off to the east. You know, you can see the track pretty well there. So is there any update on the warning, John? Is there anything telling us like how fast it's currently tracking? Is it still at 50?
It's going to be off the coast pretty quick soon.
Yeah, yeah, it's really...
It's still going east at 45.
Okay, so it's slowed down
Now
just a touch.
That was 414.
Okay.
415.
Okay,
Sorry.
so a few minutes ago, was at 50, now it's at 45. Still moving quite quickly, but you know, we've got the winds combined with that storm motion that are producing that 70+ mile-an-hour winds. So now warned for 70 miles an hour. Hail size still at golf balls. Derek's peeking around the corner at me. Hey, Derek.
Yeah, so...
But yeah, as it...
This one said trained weather spotters. They report golf ball size hail and up to 65 mile-per-hour winds south of Waukesha is what they said?
Waukesha, yeah.
Waukesha. Yeah, I'm learning how to pronounce Wisconsin names here.
Yeah. Yeah, so wind-driven hail is, I mean, we've said it a few times, but wind-driven hail is going to be a big hazard on this storm. You know, you can sort of see the reflectivity picking up a little bit, and it's going to be pretty scattered hail. There's no well-defined hail core, but now you can see, John's like, oh my gosh, over there. You can see where that wind is really starting to just absolutely rip across now into, moving out of Franklin, but moving into Oak Creek. If you guys are in Oak Creek along 32 or Cudahy, if you guys are anywhere in that area, yeah, just outside of Milwaukee, winds are just ripping off the coast here. So John, you know, queried a few areas here. You know, this isn't what's being reported at the ground. We're going to have to wait for those reports, but the radar at a slight elevation here is picking up winds at 104 miles an hour here. You know, for the shear, I guess, 86 miles an hour for the winds. Okay, Cudahy, cool.
I found a 90.
A 90, yeah. So now we're getting into our bright blues for our mapping team with this storm as it tracks off the coast here. So it's absolutely, again, just moving, and we've still got some isolated hail tracking through that storm, probably mostly in the $quarter to $half range, mostly around quarters would be my guess. But again, a wind-driven quarter is not going to feel good. So get inside. If you guys are not already, try to get inside as this storm moves towards you guys. Going to get real windy here in a second. If you guys are along the coast of the Great Lakes, is this Lake Michigan? Which lake is this?
Lake Michigan.
Tight. Lake Michigan. All right, if you guys are along the coast of that, you know, again, it's going to get real breezy here in a second.
Okay, looks like we just got an update.
Okay, looks like it's just starting to move off the coast. So if you are in Cudahy, Oak Creek, or Cudahy, Oak Creek, you know, that's where those winds are starting to move through now. Rain's starting to pick up, high winds, and likely some hail as well. Where that bright pink band is, and you can see where the further, or the easternmost edge of that storm is, that's where the winds are the highest, driving that storm forward, right where that arrow is. So if you guys are just on the northern end of Oak Creek, that's probably where your highest winds in this storm are gonna be. So again, get indoors. That's the best I can tell you. If thunder roars, go indoors. Straight line winds are nothing to be messed around with. So along East Rawson Ave and South Pennsylvania Ave, that's about right, or maybe near West Drexel in Pennsylvania. That's where the best of these winds are going to be, or the strongest of these winds, I should say, are going to be tracking with this storm. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty long period of gusty winds here. So, you know, these are being recorded all the way from 36 here to along the coast, right where that's circled. So, you know, when the initial edge of that band hits you, it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks with that strong winds, or with those strong winds, and that's going to continue for a while with this band of storms as it tracks off the coast. So, you know, you're going to see the rain start to die down, and eventually, once the rain kind of fizzles out, hopefully that'll help your wind speeds a little bit to die down through the area. But again, 89-mile-an-hour winds being measured by the radar as it continues to track towards Oak Creek and just south of Cudahy. So if you guys are in Franklin, you should be starting to get out of this. But again, you can see the width of this storm. What are things looking like up in Milwaukee, John? Can we kind of pan up there and take a look at the winds? You guys are on the northern edge of the storm, so that should help out a little bit, but it's still looking like it's going to be pretty gusty tracking through Milwaukee proper. You know, hanging right around severe limits for you guys in Milwaukee proper, and then everywhere just south of that in Wisconsin here. That's where we're going to get our nastiest winds with this bow that has really developed quickly, produced that 2-inch hail in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin as a supercell, and then as it tracked east, now it's producing some really monster winds here. So if you're along West Oklahoma Avenue and 24 here, that's you know, the very furthermost north, or northernmost, I guess, that you're going to see severe winds. So yeah, 56, 67 miles an hour. So that's going to be probably our northernmost limit of severe winds. Anywhere down south of 41. And, you know, if you guys are along like 36 here and 41, that intersection there, that's going to be the northernmost limit of those really intense winds here, measuring almost 70 miles an hour. And then we get down into the 90s once you're along Rawson Avenue and 41. That's where things really pick up. So again, if you're along Drexel and 41, now you're probably in the worst of the winds. And again, this storm is moving very quickly, so hopefully it'll be out here, but you know, you do have a long period of wind times as that tracks eastward. So again, Rawson and 41 hitting the nastiest of the winds right now. Things getting ready to head into, well, does that say Milwaukee?
It's South Milwaukee.
South Milwaukee, okay. Yeah, things getting ready to head into South Milwaukee, and you know, starting to make its way off the coast. The leading edge of that now is into Lake Michigan, but we've got the whole back end part of that that's continuing to produce severe winds. Want to stick around, see if we get any reports in from that.
Dang.
Yeah, once it hits that water, what happens is any sort of friction from the ground that slows down that wind just completely goes away. So once it gets over the water, it can absolutely rip across Lake Michigan, but then it'll slow down again once it reaches shore. So, you know, there you go, 93 recorded there, 96 recorded by the radar there. So, you know, now that it's losing that friction over the water, it's starting to move east, but fortunately, you know, that there's no homes in the water. So, you know, nothing to worry about after it gets off the coast. But again, still seeing some potential severe hail there between Cudahy and Oak Creek, and that is wind driven. So if you guys are anywhere between that, it's starting to probably get pretty loud outside. And you know, once the bulk of this moves through, it should quiet down here in the next few minutes, but pretty long wind time on this. If you're in Franklin, still got that heavy rain, but winds are starting to taper off now for you guys, and they should move past the 41 corridor here in the next couple of minutes. And then, you know, once this gets fully off the coast, then, you know, it's a different story. But for now, pretty intense situation. Anywhere between Oak Creek, South Milwaukee, Cudahy, definitely had those nasty winds. You can see that develop as it got closer and closer to Milwaukee. John was panning it back and forth a few times there. You know, and as it gets further away from radar, we should note it's easier for the radar to measure wind gusts as it gets farther away. But you can see that happening. You know, it really starts to ramp up here once it gets closer to the coast. And you know, right south of Cudahy, that's where we're getting some really nasty winds there. 98 miles an hour being measured by the radar. Granted, that isn't necessarily, again, what's reaching the ground. We have to wait for our reports for that, but it's looking like real nasty winds.
You're getting severe
tracking through.
winds at
Oh,
the
yeah.
surface, like in the 70s, easy.
Yeah. So definitely some nasty winds tracking through that area, and waiting for some reports to come in. But my guess is, fortunately, folks are likely inside, likely staying away from this, which is what you want to do when you see a storm like this tracking through. Get in, get down, cover up, as they say, and just stay away from your windows. Wait for it to pass, and then see what happened after that. But still got those nasty winds, and this is likely in between frames here, making its way off the coast. So once we get the next one, I wouldn't be surprised to see Oak Creek and Cudahy now tapering off in their wind measurements, wind speeds. And again, you can see the bow on that just really driving across the Great Lakes here. And it's going to start to move into Michigan. Can we kind of pan out and see what the whole system is doing really quickly? Yeah. This is
It's just this one guy. It's just this one storm.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, as it tracks into Michigan, we'll have to see if this continues to band up through the Grand Rapids area. But right now, this is just south of Milwaukee. So, again, oh.
Sorry, I'm just looking around.
No, you're good.
It's by Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, we got, looks like more wind tracking through. Can we go back and forth on the track of that and see which direction it's heading? Ooh, heading down. Looks like it's just going to scrape past Cincinnati, my guess would be, but you guys could get the southern end of that tracking through, and that's moving through Hamilton and Goshen. Liberty, Ohio, Westchester, and you guys could be getting some pretty rough winds here in the next couple of minutes here. Looks like we're above severe limits for that as well, likely doing severe winds there, but not to the level of Milwaukee, but still nasty winds can do some damage.
47 and 58.
Yeah, so we're at severe limits, but again, not to the level of Wisconsin right now. But definitely, if you guys are in the Cincinnati or the surrounding suburbs area, pay attention if you guys are in that warning, because there are severe winds being produced with that storm as well. Looking like we're almost off the coast with this, and once that tracks off, we should be in the clear. Yeah, if you live in Milwaukee, you probably got some really nasty rain, probably some high winds there for a little bit. Things should be clearing out. Okay, we just got a radar update.
Yeah, velocity update.
It's not updating the velocity yet. But, it's looking like the bulk of that has tracked off the coast. We'll take a look at our velocities in a second. But yeah, those in Milwaukee probably got some really nasty winds, but if you guys were anywhere between South Milwaukee specifically and Oak Grove, that's where the winds really slammed into, and got some, like we said, above 70-mile-an-hour gusts pretty easily. So, let us know when it's safe to go outside. Let us know what you guys are seeing out there, but definitely not yet as the storm is continuing to track over y'all. Franklin, you guys are probably nearing out of it by now. You guys have had some pretty long wind times, decently long wind times. Same with anybody along the 94 corridor. And you guys are along the tail end of the storm, along the coast of Lake Michigan here, as that continues off to the east. You can see that string of reports coming in through. Huh?
Do you want to kind of recap what
Yeah.
people might be just jumping on?
Yeah, no, that's fine. You can see the string of reports coming through the area from the storm that tracked through. For Ohio, yes, we do have some severe weather coming, and I can touch on that in a second. But we had the storm start up as a supercell just to the west of Madison, Wisconsin. As it moved over Madison, it really ramped up quite a bit. You got that inflow notch producing that updraft. And with that, we got some gusty winds, as well as some hail up to 2 inches in size. So there you go. Roof damage to an apartment complex on Wright Street. That's likely due to that hail and gusty winds. Numerous trees and power lines down. Debris flying past windows. So yeah, some gusty, or I guess gusty is an understatement, but definitely got some powerful wind on this storm. And that really started to become predominant over the next few radar frames, okay? So we got that 2-inch hail through Sun Prairie. Sun Prairie is what it was. And then as it tracked off to the east, continued to produce that severe hail up to ping pong to golf ball sized stones. But then you can start to see it, come back. You can start to see it bow out there once it got past Deerfield and moved towards Jefferson. And then that wind really took over. We started to see the hail sizes drop down into more so the $1.25 to $1/2. Still got some scattered golf ball reports here and there. But we saw that wind start to really rip as it moved into Waukesha. And then towards Franklin, and now moving off the coast there through South Milwaukee and Oak Grove. Still producing that nasty wind, but again, there we go. Got some $1.25 to $1/2 size stones along with that. So winds were really kind of stealing the show, but hail was also present. So we're getting that crazy wind driving that hail as well. And so a really nasty storm here, finally making its way off the coast of, Wisconsin there into Lake Michigan. And we'll see that continue to track off to the east. We didn't get any pictures, did we, John, of like hail or wind damage?
Hang on.
All right,
I can
take your time.
bring that up whilst you can just kind of chat
about hail and wind. Yeah, I mean, I saw somebody saying they drove through it in Waukesha. I mean, glad you made it. I'm sure it was pretty crazy. Yeah, you can get a shout out. Huge anus. Oh my gosh. Oh, you got me.
You got tricked. You got tricked.
I got. That was good. But yeah, love the hail, and we do too. So as this tracked off to the east, you guys, you can kill me. As this tracked off to the east, we're seeing that hail and that wind moving into the Lake Michigan area. So yeah, thank you to Merlin Law Group for sponsoring. We appreciate your content. And with that, we're going to continue to see some severe winds along the coast of Lake Michigan there, as well as some potential hail in the $1.25 to $1/2 size range. And as that moves through, again, it should be tapering off here on the backside of this, and you'll still see some gusty winds moving through the Oak Grove area as well as South Milwaukee. But with that, it's going to not be nearly the level it was before as it tracks through. So looks like we're likely on the tail end of that. Can we get our velocities up on there?
Yeah.
And did we get any pictures?
Yeah, there's some pictures. I'm just trying to grab them.
Yeah. So, yeah, those winds are finally starting to make their way off the coast, so it should be dying down here in a little bit. But, $1.25 to $1/2 produced with that, and, things now probably in the 90-mile-an-hour range as they're moving over Lake Michigan. So, if you're any boaters out there, probably getting some nasty winds. Hopefully, you're in port. But for most of us, not gonna see not going to see any more severe weather following behind this. What's going on there?
What?
Oh, we're seeing the little thing flash on and off the screen there.
Oh, sorry, hang on. I have a couple pictures that we can show. So let me just, if you want to walk off the screen for a second so it doesn't look weird when you,
Ooh.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, am I on? Okay, sweet. Yeah, so where was this? Big sale. Okay, so this was in Genesee, and I mean, there's a $1/4, so looking like $1/2 produced along that area with that gusty wind. We did see some nasty winds moving through Genesee as well, so likely wind driven there.
And it looks like we have some pretty solid wind damage here.
Yeah.
That's a huge tree.
Yeah. Completely across the road. This car narrowly escaped disaster, looks like. So yeah, a tree across the road there. Looks like it might have taken possibly a power or a traffic light down with it. But yeah, it looks like it snapped at the trunk there. Yeah, so, and you can see that debris in the road too, from all that wind driving that along with it. Yeah, this is tilted there. If you're in Milwaukee now, you guys are probably fine. Things are starting to make its way through, and so it should be on its way out. Don't be scared. Be prepared, as we like to say, and you guys are on the tail end of it. Hail up to 2 inches in diameter at the NWS Milwaukee office. So, that's where we got those golf balls reported, but it looks like, the largest of those stones were up to 2 inches there. Similar sized hail and strong winds possible in Waukesha and Milwaukee counties. Yeah, and now those are starting to move their way out. So fortunately, we're starting to see those conditions taper off.
Here's one this is one you
yeah,
shared, actually.
Yeah, this one was in Sun Prairie. So we did have 2 inches reported in Sun Prairie, and it looks like that was probably where we got the largest quantity of 2-inch stones. Everything else was going to be pretty scattered as that wind started to take over. Ooh, but that Sun Prairie storm was really where those 2-inch stones were more prevalent because we had that supercell structure. And so, Sun Prairie got hit pretty hard with large hail, and then everywhere else, some wind-driven hail, with winds being the primary concern. So if that's it for pictures, it looks like things are off the coast. I don't know if you have anything else you want to touch on.
Making sure one last second. Nope, doesn't look like it. So I'm just gonna. Here, you're back.
Yeah. So there goes the storm making its way across. And, this is expected to hit the Grand Rapids area. Someone did ask about Ohio. I don't want that to leave. I don't want to leave without addressing that. But, this is expected to continue off to the east. Chicago, this is probably your best time to see something. So if you haven't yet, it's unlikely, but still not impossible that you could see some gusty winds. Ooh, I froze. Okay. This storm is tracking into the Cincinnati metro area, and with that, we'll see some gusty winds. So if you guys are in Cincinnati, Ohio, likely starting to see some severe winds picking up with this storm. But for Ohio overall, the largest wind potential is actually going to be in northeastern Ohio near the Cleveland area, with this one storm that's going to continue to develop across the Great Lakes, form more into a complex likely over Michigan, tracking southeastward, and then produce some severe winds. So. Again, if you guys are along 71 north there, that's where you're starting to get some severe winds picking up through the Cincinnati area. I want to say Milwaukee, but we're done with Milwaukee. Yeah, so 58-mile-an-hour measured gust from a personal weather station there. So we're doing severe winds, but nothing quite as powerful as what we saw there. 6 to 12-inch branches down. I mean, yeah, I feel like that's pretty common out east, though. Correct me if I'm wrong. I grew up in Kentucky and trees went down all the time. So yeah, I mean, but definitely not to be underestimated still though. Got severe storms tracking through the area with that gusty wind threat. And so going to continue to see that.
Nasty.
Probably worse along the northernmost edge of that between Cincinnati and Dayton. That's where we're seeing those highest reflectivities, 77-mile-an-hour winds being recorded by the radar right now. Above the ground there a little bit. So probably, I mean it's definitely doing severe winds. That's nothing to be nothing to be discounted there. But again, probably not going to be developing into the same kind of situation as we saw earlier.
Yeah, that's what I would say, mostly north of Cincinnati.
Yeah. So with that, John, if you want to add anything, feel free. My throat is starting to get a little scratchy, I'm not going to lie. So I'm going to see if I can scout out some water. I'm going to let you go ahead and recap if you want to.
Okay, well, I think we're probably going to be winding down our coverage here in a second. I think overall, you might want to mute your microphone.
Oh, how do I do that?
You just press the little button.
The little button.
The one button on the microphone. Just press it once, and you should be good. Yeah, you're good. All right, so overall, we do have these storms here in the Cincinnati area that has gusty winds. Looks like we just had that. We had that report come in here north of Hamilton in the Trenton area, 6 to 12-inch branches down. That's a pretty impressive size branches. We have velocities. You can really tell where you see those bright, like sky blue colors coming in. I mean, that's showing above the ground level up to 80-mile-an-hour winds. Really, so saying at ground level, that's more likely in the 60s, which is still pretty impressive. We had storms primarily the main show here in the Milwaukee area. Looks like we actually have a wind report that came in. In the area I'm most curious about, which is right near Cudahy, where we had some very impressive radar return showing up on this, and this report showed a half-inch hail and 59-mile-an-hour winds in St. Francis. Curious if that's the max wind speed, just based on what we were seeing on radar. Wouldn't be shocked if there was much bigger, stronger winds than that. This is the only game in town, though, here in the Great Lakes region. It's now over Lake Michigan. This will end up eventually heading towards the sections of southwestern Michigan, so places near like Kalamazoo and whatnot. That'll be once we cross the Lake Michigan area. So that all will be continuing to race off to the south and to the east. Other storms are expected to develop as well later on this evening across sections of Michigan, as Andrea had mentioned, that they'll also impact northern Ohio and sections of northeastern Indiana. If we were to just kind of go ahead and draw here a little freehand action, I'd say this is your main area of concern through the overnight hours tonight. Could have very intense winds with this, upwards of 80 miles an hour, and possibly hail as well. Hail sizes will definitely be completely related to the storm structure. If it's a line of storms, likely not too much hail. If it's more a supercell, much bigger hail. We saw that with this Milwaukee storm, where it started out as a supercell, had up to 2.25 inch hail in the eastern sections of Madison. You had golf ball to 2-inch hail all the way to the National Weather Service office in the Milwaukee area. And as it pulled into Milwaukee, the wind threat became the primary threat, and the hail sizes came down significantly. So I think that kind of sums up everything. I put my headphones back in because I hate hearing myself.
No, you're good.
Here, but.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess like John said, I mean, that sums up everything we got going on here tonight. And we'll probably see some more intense storm activity, but a lot of it is going to be after dark. So, you know, if you were in that area that John outlined, definitely stay tuned to your weather into this evening and tonight, because, you know, Milwaukee's not where it ends. We're going to likely see some more severe activity into the coming hours, so just stay tuned for that. But I think with that, we can probably sign off here. Oh, I don't have my clicker. I was like, can you advance it?
That's safe. Yeah, I'll just
talk about how to contact us if you don't know already.
Oh, we'll
okay.
Just jump all the way. Oh, I'm gonna break the machine.
Oh, I have the clicker right there. I just didn't grab it because
it just died.
Oh, it did.
So.
Okay, well, this has been fun. I can tell you guys, we are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit See First on Facebook so you don't miss a live video. And then if you want to call us, you can get us at 855-334-4245 or visit our website, hailtrace.com, for more details. And thank you guys for watching our live coverage, and we will keep you updated as always. And I'm meteorologist Andrea Myers. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.